This is Tuned Into the Land, the California Rangeland Trust podcast. Here, we will dig into a variety of topics with the partners, conservationists, and ranchers who demonstrate every day, through their words and actions, the importance of conserving California's working lands. Tune in each month to learn more about our mission and how you can get involved in preserving the future of the Golden State for generations to come.
Welcome to the final episode of Season 2 of Tuned Into the Land. I am your host, Michael Delbar. As we mentioned in previous episodes, the work we do is dependent on funding. Without funding, we're not able to conserve these working landscapes and keep ranchers on the land. As an organization, we receive funding from a variety of areas, including private donations, foundation grants, and a majority of that funding comes from government agencies. One of these agencies being the Natural Resources Conservation Service, otherwise known as the NRCS. Today, we're joined by Carlos Suarez, the California State Conservationist at NRCS. Together, we'll discuss the projects we have completed with funding from the agency, where the NRCS gets its money, and the different programs they offer, as well as how we can work together to meet the conservation and funding needs. So with that, I welcome Carlos to the podcast.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. I'm excited to join you on this podcast and talk about NRCS, talk about the partnership that is very important for us, and all the programs that we have, not only in the state, but nationally to protect our natural resources.
Well, before we get there, tell us a little bit about you, Carlos. What brought you to the state conservationist role in California?
I am a 31-year career NRCS employee. I actually work for the agency since I finished school at the University of Puerto Rico, Mayagüez. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, the proud son of Cuban immigrants to immigrated to the U.S. Looking for a better living for me and for my brother. And I had spent, as I said, 31 years with the agency, but I have several positions throughout NRCS. I have I started my career as an intern in Puerto Rico. And then when I finished college, my degree is in agricultural engineering technology. I moved, my first job was in West Virginia as a soil conservationist. And I enjoyed that very much so. I have to adjust from going from a tropical country and tropical island and tropical agriculture to mostly corn and soybeans and a little and hay, and learning that and learning from someone that I consider one of my mentors, my first boss, who taught me a lot about agriculture. And while I was started with the agency, I have then moved to other positions in the agency. I have been in 11 states in the nation. I also have the honor to serve our country in 2 diplomatic assignments, one in Nicaragua as a watershed advisor, and then in Mexico as a deputy director for USAID, U.S. Agency for International Development. That was an acting role. And also have the honor to serve and going back home and serve on a very delicate situation and disaster that the island suffered, which was through post-Hurricane Maria and Irma. And I was the USDA recovery coordinator for that. And I'm proud that of three blessed. I would say my 3 blessed hearts. One of them, I graduated from UC Davis, landscape architecture, and the others are in school. So, but very excited to be here in California. I have been a state conservationist for 11 years in the state. And prior to that, I have another stint in the state that as 3.5 years as a deputy state conservationist.
Well, I have colleagues across the country that know you and are very jealous that we have you in California. So we're glad you're here.
Well, thank you, Mike. I am very honored. I am very honored to be a servant leader, not only to the people, the women and men of NRCS, but also all the partners and all the farmers and ranchers and forest stewards that we have in our great state.
Well, tell us a little bit about what NRCS does. It's another agency under USDA, but it's a very important one.
It is, and I, as I said earlier, I'm in love with the agency and the mission of the agency, and we are known by helping people help the land. We are a voluntary agency, and that's a key piece of our agency is that we're non-regulatory. We work with farmers, ranchers, and forest stewards to protect their natural resources and their properties. And we work at their invitation. We don't use regulations to go in and tell them what we think they should do and so forth. It's a partnership. It's a true partnership. Mm-hmm. And as a conservation agency, we help protect natural resources on private land, whether it's water conservation, water quality, soil erosion, soil quality. We also are very heavily involved in air quality in the state, wildlife habitat. Forestry has been another piece that have been increasing in our portfolio. And certainly an area that I'm very passionate about, and from my years, not only in California, but all in other states like Florida, is the easement programs, where we protect farmland and also we restore wetland and protect wetlands in the state.
That's the Wetland Reserve Program, WRP.
That was the old Wetland Reserve Program, as it was called until the 2014 Farm Bill. Now it's the Wetland Easement Program. Right. Yes.
And the other part of that is under the Agricultural Conservation Easement Program, or ACEP, since this is USDA loves their acronyms, is also the Agricultural Land Easement Program. So it's ACEP-ALE.
Exactly, ACEP-ALE, and yes, we love acronyms, so I have to make sure that I spell them. But it's as you said, Mike, it's the Agricultural Conservation Easement Program, and within ACEP, for short, you have two easement components. You have the ALE, which is the Agricultural Land Easements, which we have worked closely in the past. I will say over more than a decade, you and I. And also on the other one is the Wetland Easement Program, the Wetland Lands Easement Program. And those are the two components that are under ACEP. Both of those programs have been, their intentions is to protect prime farmland in the state, the ALE. Protect prime farmland. We work with land trusts throughout the state, and we have several land trusts in the states that all of them solid and with the mission of protecting prime farmland in our beloved state. But we also work with farmers on protecting wetlands, in some cases restoring areas that were prior converted to agriculture from wetlands. As you know, our state was pretty much more than 90% was covered by water. So we have lost, throughout the decades, we lost land that was wetland through agriculture, productive. We have the opportunity to restore some of that land back to wetland conditions with the support of those farmers and ranchers.
And the Wetland Easement Program, NRCS holds those conservation easements under that program.
That is correct. Under the Wetland Lands Easement Program, NRCS work with the farmer and the ranchers, and what we do is we pay. We do an assessment of what the cost is. Usually it's 80 to 90% of what the actual market value would be, and we work with those farmers and ranchers to identify the area and rank them, and then get into a conservation easement. These are permanent easements. We used to do 30-year easements, and now we do permanent easements. And those permanent easements will, the farmer holds, he or she doesn't have to sell the land. We just hold the easement in perpetuity so that it's not converted into other uses.
as opposed to the ASAP-AO, the Ag Land Easement Program, where qualified third parties like the Rangeland Trust hold those easements. We work in partnership with NRCS and other funders to purchase those development rights from the landowner. But we, as a qualified third party, hold those easements.
That is correct. The land trust hold those easements. We work, as you said, we can pay up to 50% of the cost of the market value. But we work with agencies like the Department of Conservation, and we also work with the land trust throughout the state to make that happen. And it's a program that honestly, in a state like ours, where there's so much valuable land in prime farmland, but it's also under pressure for conversion into non-ag land uses. It's been very critical to have a program like the agricultural land easements to protect those farmlands.
So NRCS funds 50% of that easement value, and it's up to us as the land trust to find the other 50%.
Yeah.
So the landowner is paid 100% of that development value.
That is correct. That is correct.
So there's one other program under the Farm Bill through NRCS is the Regional Conservation Partnership Program, or RCPP. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about what RCPP is.
Yes, I will say RCPP signifies is the example of a partnership of how we work as partners with other entities and organizations. And what RCPP does, or the Regional Conservation Partnership Program, is it identify a partner or a group of partners come into the table with NRCS and identify areas that they want to work on. Could be either a watershed, as small as they want to define it, or a region, and in some cases have been multi-state projects. But in California, most of the projects that we have have been within the state. Or it can be focused on a resource concern, whether it's water conservation, water quality, air quality. And what they do is, what this program does is, it's set aside through our competition process. It's a competitive process. The partners, and they can have as many partners as they wish, the more the merrier, as they say, bring in funding. And that funding is matched 1-to-1 or close to 1-to-1 match with NRCS. And if that project is selected for funding, then there's money dedicated specifically for that project, whether it's that area that they define or that resource that they define within that area. And it's up to 5 years. That's a contract that we have up to 5 years with that partner. And those funds are dedicated to the producers within that area or that region within the state.
We talked about what NRCS funds in terms of easements, but where does that money come from? How is that appropriated to your agency?
Absolutely, that's the key question here. And how do we provide funding to our farmers and ranchers and forest stewards? And for since '96, since the '96 Farm Bill. Basically the Farm Bill of which is the enabling law that allows funding to go to agencies like NRCS, in this case for conservation. And that money comes from Congress. It's allocated to USDA, allocated to NRCS, and it provides up to a cap on the different programs that under the Farm Bill on the conservation title. So in California, we receive funding for the different programs under the Farm Bill, whether in EQIP or CSP, EQIP, the Environmental Quality Incentive Program, Conservation Stewardship Program, RCPP, which we talk a little bit about it, and also the ASAP program, which is the easement programs. So in California, we have I would say, solid funding to allow us to put conservation underground. I say that our main program has always been technical assistance, which is providing that expertise to put conservation underground. And the Farm Bill programs are tools to make that happen. But just recently, a year ago, about a year ago, we were blessed with another source of funding, which is the IRA funds, which is the Inflation Reduction Act. And Inflation Reduction Act recognized the importance of conservation in our nation and recognized NRCS ability to deliver that conservation. And so NRCS nationally received $19.5 billion for conservation that supports those Farm Bill programs. And in California, we expect to receive close to $300 million of those funds for the next 3 years, which is a historic investment in conservation for our state.
And California wasn't included in the first year of the rollout for IRA funds. We're very excited to see that we now are eligible for some of those dollars. Yes,
that's under the easement programs. That is correct. That was based on the funding levels and how those fundings were allocated. The agency made I would say, a very strategic decision to go first with a few states in the nation and then expand it into this second round, which is FY24. And as you said very well, Mike, now California is eligible for that. And we have made already requests for funding for different projects under the ALE and also under the WLE IRA as we have to use like a checking account. We're using the IRA checking account to provide that funding.
Under the traditional ASAP-AO program for the last quite a number of years, California, which ironically is the largest ag state in the nation, only gets around $8 million a year for the easement program. Not much. What do you anticipate the supplement being through the IRA for the next few years?
I believe that we are going to have a significant impact and a significant increase in funding using IRA funds, recognizing the fact, as you said, that we are the largest agricultural state in the nation. And but also, as important as being the largest agricultural state in the nation is the fact of all the efforts that our agency and our partners are making to protect our natural resources. In the case of funding for ALE, for agricultural land easements, I do expect that not only the demand to continue, but also the recognition that there is funding to be invested in California to protect those farms and those ranches.
It's interesting you talk about demonstrating the demand under the 14 Farm Bill. Mm-hmm. There was a requirement that a land trust bring a funding matching partner to the table before we can apply. So that was really limited for a land trust to demonstrate what that demand is. That match requirement is gone. We were able to change that in the 2018 Farm Bill, the one we're currently under now, a 1-year extension until we get the 23 or now probably 24 Farm Bill done. Now we could more clearly demonstrate what our demand is. And when I say it exceeds the $8 million you get, mm-hmm. and we're not the only game in town, I recognize that. Yeah. But we have over 90 ranches in our queue. Mm-hmm. Those are applications that have been vetted and accepted by the board. That accounts for well over 225,000 acres, Carlos. Yeah. Probably, our best estimate's about $250 million to completely conserve those. So there is a demonstration of demand in California if there ever was one. Yeah. How do we get that message back in D.C. to get you and NRCS in California an increase in your normal Farm Bill allocation? So
that's a very good question and one that I can answer the following way, and that is, as an agency, we have been showing year after year the demand that we have in the state. Unfortunately, or based on the allocation, we take the allocations that we receive and we put those to good use and invest it. The way we have been showing the demand and how and getting that message to NRCS and nationally is this is what the demand is, this is what we can do, and what we have been demonstrating to do in our state. As you said, we're not the only state, even though we're the largest state and the largest agricultural state in the nation. We're not the only state that requests funding. So it's a matter of just keeping that word and getting that information out and providing that, showing that the demand is. And I honestly believe that our agency have recognized that, and based on the fundings that we receive, those adjustments are made to address that demand. Now, fortunately, we don't, even with all the funds that we have nationally, and also the increases that we are receiving in the state, that doesn't necessarily is enough to cover that. That's that's a reality. So that's where we work with our partners to leverage that funding, to leverage those resources to make sure that we are addressing as much as we can the needs in the state.
Exactly. So our process for landowners that may be listening is we don't solicit landowners. It's you mentioned the word voluntary early in this, and for us that is a vital word. Yeah. It is completely a voluntary process. We don't strong arm. We don't approach landowners and say we should do this. Landowners come to us. Yeah. We do things that let them know we exist, but then they approach us and say, I'm interested in talking about a conservation easement on my working land. That's perfect. We start that conversation. Then we give them an application. They complete the application. We get it in-house. It goes through a vetting process with our board, and it gets accepted. And that begins that process where now we go find those funds in order to purchase the development rights if it's a purchased easement. NRCS has been a wonderful partner in that process. In our 25 years of history, we've conserved 17 ranches using NRCS funds. That, I think, says a lot about the value that we see with NRCS as a partner.
Absolutely.
One of the ways in which we're trying to make the process more efficient and effective on our end, because anytime we're dealing with multiple funders, it tends to take some time. And the human resource requirements and restrictions that exist for everybody, state and federal, can be a challenge at times. So one of the ways that we're approaching this is to seek certified entity status. Mm-hmm. That was a provision in the 2012 Farm Bill, I believe, is where it started. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us what certified entity status means and how that can be a benefit to us as a land trust working with you? So,
yes, you're right, Mike. And the beauty about the certifying entity is that if you are a certifying entity, you get to help us in the process of these applications and on the processing side of it. You take that normally would have been done by our staff in Washington, D.C. So it helped us in getting that process underway and move faster, because we would use your resources that has been certified, have been evaluated by our staff and by our experts in the subject. And as a certifying entity, you help us then with your staff and your resources to get through that process quicker. So that is very important for us because, as you know, this is not a process that is done in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. It takes some time, and having an organization that has been certified, which basically says it demonstrates that they have the expertise to help us through the easement process, to the closing process, is definitely beneficial for all parties involved.
Well, we're looking forward to achieving that goal and helping you out as a certified entity here soon.
Thank you. I look forward to that as well.
So we talked about the conservation easements and how important those are in achieving conservation goals for the landowner, but it doesn't stop there. The easement is a huge step in helping conserve those lands, but there's also the ongoing work. And NRCS is a very valuable partner in bringing funds to the table to continue that conservation work by these landowners. A couple of those programs we can visit about if we now is Environmental Quality Incentive Program, or EQIP. EQIP is one that, again, can bring bring the landowner some funds needed to help get some conservation projects done. Can you give us a little bit of background on EQIP and how important that is and how that works with the agency?
Yes. So EQIP, and I also would like to not only talk about EQIP, but also, as I call it, is complementary or another stewardship program that has become very important in our state and our agency, and also in our state, is the Conservation Stewardship Program. But just talking about EQIP first, that is our flagship program. That's the program that provides funding to farmers, ranchers, and forest stewards to protect their natural resources. And that we have averaged over $100 million a year in EQIP funds. Last year, we have, this past fiscal year, we have $103 million in both the regular EQIP funds and also the addition of IRA funds, or the Inflation Reduction Act funds. And what that does is it helps, as we provide that technical assistance, we use those EQIP dollars as tools to get that conservation on the ground. Whether we're installing an irrigation system to improve water distribution, or we're installing wildlife habitat or animal waste systems in the San Joaquin Valley, with working with our dairy producers, or also improving the air quality in the state. And that's just to mention a few of the many conservation practices that EQIP provide funding, very valuable funding to farmers, ranchers, and forest stewards to put that conservation on the ground. So that's the key. That's as they call it, the flagship program for that financial assistance. But we also have the Conservation Stewardship Program. And that is that conservation program, CSP, helps farmers and ranchers build on existing conservation efforts while they strengthen their operations. So it's taking it to another level. In the past few years, we, NRCS, and our partners have made a concerted effort to increase the participation of farmers in this excellent program. And last year, we hit a record year in funding investment. We hit close to $10 million for California in CSP. And we expect to actually double that in FY24 with the addition of Inflation Reduction Act funds. So these are two very critical programs that help farmers and ranchers and forest stewards put conservation on the ground, in addition to the technical assistance that we offer.
We see these programs and the additional conservation they provide is so important that we have, Rangeland Trust has added a programs division to our staff. And the job of our programs department is to help share this information with our landowner partners, both those that for which we hold those easements and those that are 90 plus that are waiting for that NRCS funds to close, and get that information out there and help them with that. That's how important we see this additional conservation.
Thanks, Mike, for that recognition. And yes, it has been critical. And that work that we do with the farmers that you represent, the land trust, farmers and ranchers that you represent, has been critical, in addition to the many others that we have in the state, and put conservation on the ground. So much that the agency have recognized the importance and the partnership levels that we have in. And now this year, I believe my understanding is that overall funding for California has been number one in the nation as far as funding that NRCS received in overall programs, for the many programs that NRCS managed. So that is a testament not only to the men and women of NRCS, which I am proud to serve on a daily basis, But that's also a testament to our number one stewards that are ranchers, farmers, and forest owners, forest land users who know very well the importance of protecting those resources. And it also is a testament to the partnership with entities like the Land Trust, who work together. They know that we cannot do this by ourselves, that it has to be a partnership effort. And as such, we have been very successful in working in partnership, not only with the Land Trust, but other entities and other local agencies like Resource Conservation Districts, the California Department of Food and Agriculture, the Department of Conservation, also with the Natural Resources Department, and other federal agencies like U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the Forest Service, to name a few. And I'd be remiss if I don't mention the support and the stewardship that our federally recognized tribes and state recognized tribes bring into the table as well, working together in that partnership.
We are very proud to be one of those partners with you. And like I mentioned earlier, the conservation work that our landowners are doing is due in part to the support from NRCS. Is the easiest program to use. It focuses on agriculture production, and some easement programs don't do that necessarily. It may not be their top priority, but with NRCS, that is, and that means a lot to us, and it means a lot to our landowners. And that partnership is, like I said, is extremely invaluable. For those ranchers that are listening, where can they get more information on the program?
Absolutely, that's great question, and I want farmers and ranchers and forest stewards to know that we have an office in pretty much every county in our great state. Just go to your local office and county, and you can access the directory of our offices by going into our website, which is www.nrcs.usda.gov. and hitting the tab California, and it will show you all where our offices are located, and the services, and we provide all the services, and every office is the same services. So you can go in and ask for technical assistance or what kind of programs you can qualify so that we can provide that service to you. We'll be more than happy to support you.
Well, Carlos, thank you for joining us for this episode and shedding light on the funding programs, both through the easement programs and other conservation programs with NRCS. We really appreciate your time. We know you're extremely busy, gentlemen, and we're very honored to have you be a guest today.
Well, Mike, thanks so much. I've known you for years, and this is a pleasure for me to be speaking to the ranchers that are listening today, but also their farmers and forest stewards. I'm passionate about conservation, passionate about what we as an agency do, and I'm also passionate about our partnership. I believe that it's critical that partnership continue to be strong for the support of our farmers and ranchers and forest stewards that we represent. Thank you.
Thank you. Over the last 25 years, we have been fortunate enough to assist 89 different ranching families in conserving their working ranches, but there's still a lot more work to do. We have over 90 additional families waiting to conserve, and funding is our only hurdle to overcome to get these projects done. As you learned today, the funding we receive from outside agencies only gets us so far, and we have to find ways to fill that gap and meet the needs of these families working to conserve their working ranches. As the holiday season draws to a close, we want to express our gratitude to you all for helping us work towards these important conservation goals. Your gifts make a significant difference in ensuring that we are able to protect the land for future generations while helping their stewards overcome challenges so that they can continue to care for these lands. If you feel so inclined, you can still make a gift to the land by visiting our website, rangelandtrust.org. There are even some specific projects listed that you could use your support today. So this closes the gate on Season 2 of Tuned Into the Land. We hope that you enjoyed this season, and we look forward to bringing you more meaningful conversations in Season 3. If you enjoy our podcast, do us a favor and leave a review on our listening platform, and be sure to hit that follow button so you'll be notified when Season 3 arrives. We hope that you have a happy holiday and spectacular new year. Thanks for listening.